Welcome to another episode of the all-new Spark series by Maxis Business. I'm your host, Julie Woon. Family-owned SMEs play a pivotal role in our local economy. Research shows they make up at least 70% of Malaysian SMEs. On today's Let's Talk session, we have two well-known leaders of local family-owned businesses to talk about the unique dynamics of being a part of family-run businesses. Pierre, Group Executive Director of noodle snack legacy Mamee-Double, which was founded by his father and grandfather. Next, we have Terry Lee, who took over the management of his family business started by his brothers. BMS Organics is now one of the leading organic retail and cafe business in Malaysia. We also have with us someone who brings a wealth of experience in terms of dealing with SMEs on a daily basis. Kevin Lee, the head of the SME segment at Maxis. So let's fire up the discussion. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And we have been following your business model for a long time now. So well done. Truly proud to say it's a Malaysian brand. And having been a family-owned business, I'm sure it comes with many unique advantages and disadvantages. Perhaps let's start with the good. What are some of the pros or advantages of being in a family-run business, Pierre?
Yeah, I think as the saying goes, blood is always thicker than water. I think it holds true. Family, it's always essentially the people that you can trust most and you're most comfortable with. But a lot of times the challenge comes when there's a lack of clarity or the lack of good communication. And that creates a lot of ambiguity as well as basically challenges of pre-assumptions by various parties. So in my experience, right, we're very happy to say that it's something that has been inculcated over many years. Where back in the days where we were growing up in Malacca, our grandfather always insisted that every day available, especially the weekends, we must congregate as one around food because we sell food as well. So food is a very big part of our lives. So that interpersonal relationship, trust, and communication has been developed back way about 15, 20, 30 years ago. So today we have the benefit where we work very seamlessly among our family members. But that said, we are also very, very clear that our business cannot be run as a family business in order for us to protect the legacy of our founding grandfather. But essentially, we see ourselves as a high-performing sports team where every different position, for example, in the football team, it's truly important. For example, a striker who scores goals is no more important than a goalkeeper that prevents goals. But essentially, what's more important that if we, as a family member, who we provide the privilege of a position in the company, cannot feel entitled that the position is ours forever if we, or I speak for myself is unable to deliver against the expectations of the organization needs. So I think with that clear expectation of we have to perform for the sake of our family and the legacy with a single-minded goal where all of us in the family are working towards protecting the legacy, I think that clarity goes a long way in giving us comfort and also the challenge in order to perform to the level that's required.
That is amazing what your grandfather foresaw in a way back when he started the company together with your father, that the bond between family must be harnessed from a young age, and you were brought into the family, and to be able to communicate openly with the family. So having this family-run business structure has brought all of you closer.
Yeah. I mean, I will not, in a way, paint a picture that every day is a bed of roses. Clearly, there are difference in regards to point of views, clearly, on a daily basis, in fact. But I think one very important point is the trust and respect formed over the years. I think that is the single most important value where essentially if I have a differing view from you, but at the core, I trust that you have the best interest of the family's legacy and the organization at the core of your decision making, I'm happy to support it. Because at the end of the day, before you execute, it's very hard to know whether it's a bad or good decision. But the core of it is once a decision is decided, we must back each other to execute against that. And therefore, I think the trust and respect, the foresight of my grandfather, my father, and the family members, the earlier generation, in forming that bond, I think has set a good foundation for the third generation to execute upon.
That's right. I like that mindset of an elite sports team where none of you feel entitled to take over the family business, but you all work as a unit because you're only as strong as your weakest link, right?
Absolutely.
And for Terry as well, I mean, you're in a unique position, and perhaps having heard his experience, passing on from second to third generation, perhaps you can draw experience from that or inspiration because you are sort of the first generation.
Yeah, correct. Actually, I'm very admire your grandfather, like Pierre grandfather. He has the game rules. He has set everything's there, and everyone just follow. And he actually use some way to unite everybody.
Yep.
Okay, let them play. Like old times, we always watch a movie together, or everyone sit together and watch the same movie. So we have the common topic, then we speak the same language, then we can work together whenever we are coming into family business. For me, like you say, I'm first generation, I would say that, because this BMS Organic is actually founded by my three brothers, and I was 17 years old. I was helping up, so I sort of co-founders.
Yep.
So when I came into a picture to take over the business, because I'm the youngest, whenever I want to raise up the new ideas or I want to change something, when we come to them some different opinions, so I will come into that I'm your brothers. You just listen to your brothers. So it might be happens in family business. Yeah. Okay, so for me, it's sort of a family business. Then it will carry this emotion not only in the company. So it might goes back to the, when you go back home. That time, we are all still not married yet lah. Okay, but I'm still young. So go back and look at his face. That kind of feeling that we just have some argument during the meeting. So after the meeting, I still see you. So should I smile at you? I don't smile at you. So I think. Okay, I think that's concepts of a family-owned business lah. But like what Pierre said, I think they are because they make you clarity and everyone can be replaceable. I think it's because of he started from quite some time ago. I think
15 years ago.
50 years ago.
The company is 51 years old, but I'm in there for 15.
So our company is 25 years ago. So that time is still first generation, and I believe that for a family business to run very successful, they must have a dominant power, I would say that. So someone have to set the game's rules. For me, my side will be, because we have equal share. Okay, I think I'm very happy with my sibling too, because I'm the youngest. I came in and they also give me equal share. Okay, so that's my thank you to my brothers there. Okay, but there's also a problem of equal share for family. Let's say Mamee-Double, I don't know lah, maybe it started by grandfather, sibling as well, all have the equal share. It might not, unless they really have, like what I think we in just behind we talked to Pierre, because the grandfather have someone that he has been exposed to Western thinking. So it's more transparent that we have to adapt to new things, right? But when it's more to family-owned business, everyone have the equal share, it's harder to make things move and everyone have the equal share. And when the emotion attached in, that's the trouble things that I would say that. So we can't move things. And we come back to family.
Actually, just want to add on to what you're saying. I see a very big distinction between how both run the business. Pierre, you are the lucky one.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely,
I mean, your business has been established for that's the third generation, and there's a very clear governance, a very clear mindset, and how it's run. And I think a lot of SME that I've met across all this time are probably having a similar situation like Terry. They're not over 3 generations, they're probably 2nd generation. I think this is where Malaysian brands, most of Malaysian SME are at. They struggle within the power. Either the first generation are not really opening up for the 2nd generation to take over. How do you actually see that the 2nd generation can take, like in your situation, you say your brother, they are all senior than you. And what do you do to be able to gain the credibility?
I think it's always if you want to gain credibility, you have to proven with your result. Okay, it's always because result always prove that whether you are credible or not. Okay, so how do I gain the trust? It will be, I think when I came back from Australia, when I graduated, my brother let me handle the wholesale departments. And I think I managed to 3 times the sales in the first year. So after 1 year, they said, hey, you are doing quite good, lor. Okay, so now you do more lah. You take over the retail, the whole 7 outlet retail. So I like what I answer your question is yes, lor. I proven with my result, lor. So and then they trust me and I transform the company and I digitalize the company. So from there lah, I think.
Where I would add on is, I think Terry clearly said something very important, regardless of size of company or how young or old a company. It's that every company needs to have clarity and unity towards one direction, right? just like a high-performance football team, the analogy that we mentioned just now, right? History has proven that the best team is not the highest skilled team or the most expensive players within the team. It's a team that can combine skills with harmony, that to play as a team, right? And I think that with a business as well, I guess from what I hear from Terry and my own experience, there cannot be two conflicting directions, right, in one organization, because it creates a lot of paralysis in regards to execution. It makes the team within the organization unclear about how to decide on even the most minute decisions, because do this also wrong, do that also wrong, versus decide on one direction, right, and essentially everybody execute against that, and have the periodic check and balance to see whether everybody's on the right track or not, and pivot if necessary. But doomed from day one if half the team goes one direction, the other half of the team go the other direction. So that's something that I can truly relate with Terry, and that's irregardless of whether SME, 50-year-old company, 100-year-old company. I think clarity towards a single direction is key.
Conflict is definitely unavoidable, but it's how you overcome that conflict, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, you've got equal share among your 3 brothers, so 25% each. How do you set the direction? So like Pierre mentioned, one person sets the direction, everybody follows. But what if your idea is not supported by your brothers? Who sets the direction then if everybody has equal share?
That's the hard part. That's why actually you always have a lot of communication and clarity. Like we have to, then you always come back to what our company want to do, what's our direction, where we want to heading to. So I always explain to where I want to go, why I want to do this. I think conflicts always come to miscommunication. So I always communicate a lot, and I my grandmother, I have to always tell why I want to do this. Maybe I need to repeat 5 to 10 times. Like for example, when I want to bring the investor into our company, it took me 3 years to explain them why I want to bring an investor to the company, because it's for the future of the company, and it's actually for the goodness of our family as well. Because for me maybe we are equal share. I foresee there's some problem will arise when we pass to second generation. Yeah. Okay, so if I bring in someone else into the company, and then me myself actually feel more pressure because I need to be answerable. Not only my brothers and my sibling, I need to answerable to the investor as well. And I always have to work hard to prove with the result. Okay, if I didn't prove, I cannot just say, if you're so good, you work yourself. I think this might happen in some of the family business. Okay, and even myself, I think myself also, I think I'm not right if I'm saying that word, but it might, when you work very, very hard sometime, and someone maybe not saying some words that not appreciate sometime. Why is it like that? It's so good, then you do. This has happened in family business, I think. Okay, for me, it happened to me as well. But I think it's not right to happen that. So I decide to bring the family business to a corporate business. It's also auditable to myself as well. Okay, so next time when I didn't do the right figure for the company, I'm not performing well, you can always replace me. And I cannot say, it's so good you do. If I say this word now in the company, yes, you can go.
That's right. There was a recent survey by a leading accounting firm in Malaysia that says that Malaysian family-owned business was slow to adapt in terms of technological advancements and strategies in their businesses. Do you see that happening in your businesses as well?
Definitely, I think technology is key for our business, because it's not because we think it is, it's because the world is changing at a fast pace that technology can be a great complementer rather than a great inhibitor. From our experience looking at various other companies and our own experience years ago when we decided to embark on implementing technology, the first thing is clearly the lack of confidence, the know-how of, okay, there's one thing about knowing technology is important, but there's a very big gap in terms of how do we do it? What's the first step? How much is it going to cost? Is this the right thing to do? So that is, I think, irregardless of whatever size of organization. In fact, I would argue that the bigger the organization, the bigger the risk of implementing technology to change the way we work, to, in a way, leapfrog from the past years of offerings. So I would say that whether big or small company, confidence is always going to be an issue. But I think thankfully today there is a lot of resources out there, right? With a click of a button, we have Google, and that's the best university to some extent, right? You could learn things from YouTube, from Google, etc. You have companies which are able to support you, consult you towards how you could implement technology for your specific business.
Like Maxis.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I think that the first part is to acknowledge that yes, it's fearful, but it's necessary, and then work with others, not on your own, to actually put the right solution forth for the business. Yeah, that's our experience, and that's where I feel many others will face as well.
For me, what I observe why is it slow? I think it's still come back to, because like you said, like more of the SME business in Malaysia is come from family-owned business, and it's always started with maybe first generation. Now it's a second generation. Actually, I observe from my friends that some of my friends maybe are younger, like 20 old years old. They're trying to adapt technology into the company, but maybe because of budget. What I observed after the pandemic, I think the game changed. So now the first generation or older generation, they're actually willing to spend more into digitalize their businesses, because if they don't change, gone.
We see ourselves as a traditional Chinaman company from market, right? And essentially, part of the mindset is essentially that, look, if you're not in office, you're not working, right? You got to punch card and all that. That's the thinking of the old. But the pandemic has forced us into working remotely, right? And to be comfortable with video conferencing, for example. So the technology is there today, right? But the key is essentially the mindset and also the ability to see a different way of working. But today, we are still working some team A, team B. Half the team is working from home, so half the team is somewhere around the world. But we are more effective in spite of the mindset of a Chinaman company where, if you're not in office, if you're not clocking in and clocking out at the time I want you, then you're not working. I think all those old mindset has to be thrown out in order to move forward.
How do you convince your father and your grandfather to change that old mindset and to tell them that's not relevant now?
In my perspective, thankfully, they were very open to it, right? But I think the pandemic has done everyone a favor. The pandemic has forced everyone into it, and therefore no more excuse. Yeah.
I can also add on to that. I think generally, if you look at Malaysian SME market environment has been a very conducive environment for many, many years. So it's true that Malaysian SME has been a little bit slow in adopting the digitalizations. But the last 2 years has changed this because, see, when the market is opening up globally, now you can easily buy anything from anywhere. It's just at your doorstep within 1 week. So that we also start to see a lot of example of Malaysian family-run brands and business that this younger generation or the next generation is the one who come in and introduce digitalization. One thing to be a little bit clear is I heard just now what Terry was saying and Pierre was saying. This first generation, they started their business in a very thrifty manner. So anything they spend, they want to see ROI.
Immediately.
But unfortunately, digitalization is not something you spend and then tomorrow you see a result. It's a long mid-term investment. Digitalization also helps to transform your channel, your business model, and second generation is actually in that right position because most of second generation probably study IT or get exposed to the new technology and that I think that's where I start to see that a lot of Malaysian brands who are able to live from the first generation because they started to adopt digitalization.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're less averse to it. So you are obviously an anomaly because your family-run business seems to have a right footing from the get-go, as opposed to many other family-run businesses who have the patriarch who, definitely hold on to power until his deathbed. But we're not seeing that. And perhaps you being the first generation, there's so many things that you can do now for your future generation to build BMS Organic into the next level. And in fact, for our SMEs out there, a couple of them have actually written in and posted some questions for you. Perhaps let's take one of the questions right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Faye from Skippy's Pizza. I would like to direct my question to Pierre. With the constant rise of costs lately due to logistics, how do you deal with your pricing? And how do you ensure that the consumer is not too burdened at the same time?
All right, a great question by Faye and very relevant indeed. Rising costs due to logistics and the onset of inflation. What do you think, Pierre?
Okay, thanks, Faye, for the question. I think in business, the core of what we do is to add value. Now, a lot of the times we misconstrue that value is what we can see. For Faye's instance, perhaps a pizza, right? But in our experience in Mamee, in spite of us selling snacks of 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, we're very clear that essentially our overall delivery of adding value to consumer, it's only not what you put in your mouth. A lot of times today, we are at a level in this country where we are so well-to-do that we don't eat instant noodles anymore as a form of filling our tummies to stay alive. It is now a snack they eat for pleasure. So that's why even in tough times, right, you would see that the LV store is queue. People are still paying for Starbucks. People are paying for experiences. So that's why, in my experience, what I will share is that look beyond what you could see that is tangible. Look at how we can improve the experiences of our consumers. Look at how brands can add value in a way that sparks something of a magical feeling that people are willing to pay money for, right? So you see like hot pot restaurants where people are willing to queue for hours to pay a premium to consume. Why? They must be doing something right. That if we want a caffeine kick, why don't we walk across the street to a kopitiam and pay 1 ringgit 20 cents for a caffeine kick to keep me awake? But why do I queue in Starbucks and pay 10 times more? There must be something there. And if you look into the numbers, right, why this is not just talk, but essentially it's proven in numbers as a business owner, is that 2 generations ago, if you look into the top most valuable organizations in the world, you would see all the energy companies, those who control oil, those who control commodities, they will be right at the top of the organization. But today, why do you see the likes of Apple, right, Tesla, Starbucks as representing the consumer side of things? It's because essentially today money is made by delivering intangible benefits, not so much tangible. Because Apple may not have the best specs in the phone, but they sell the highest prices consistently. So I think there's something to be learned there, that essentially us selling a pack of potato chips, there is more that they're delivering beyond that bag of fried potato chips. Mm-hmm. And if we can crack that, then I think a lot of times that's where value is. But of course, that said, in Mamee as well, we see enemy as not our competitors, but enemy truly is inefficiency and things that are not productive. So that's why when there's wastage on the manufacturing floor, when products are sold and returned and dumped into the dumpster, all those must be weeded out, because essentially those inefficiency, nobody gains from it. We don't gain from it. Our consumer don't gain from it. Our retailer partners don't gain from it. So essentially we go very, very hard on inefficiency, but we invest in our people, we invest in our brands, and we invest in technology to enable us to continue to be efficient. So that would be our experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
So adding value beyond just the product itself.
The tangible product, but
right.
the emotional, intangible product.
That's right. So Faye, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Pierre, for taking that. We do have one more question by a fellow SME. Let's take a look at the next question.
Hi Terry, Ashiki Rahmat here from Luminara. I have a question for you. What was the biggest challenge about building the business with your siblings, and how did you actually overcome these challenges?
All right, thank you, Ashiki. And what a great question. Biggest challenge working with your siblings. I hope they're watching right now.
Okay.
And how do you overcome that challenge?
Okay, thanks Ashiki for the question. It's really not an easy question, and it actually happened to me maybe about 10 years ago. Okay, and I think that the biggest challenge of working with siblings, especially for me, because I'm the youngest brothers, I always pop up new ideas and want to implement something to the company. And we always in the meeting, we have some disagreement, and it happened to be a very loud sound or something is hitting on the table and this and that. Okay, so this happened to me. Okay, so after that, how I resolved it, and then I started to read through what I should do in order to resolve, because I think it's not healthy for family to always have this kind of disagreement within the family, and our relationship is getting lesser, and I think it will be getting worse for the relationship. So I need to bring something to balance up. Okay, so if you are having this, I think there's for me I have 2 strategies to do it So I started to look for investor, the good investor that coming into a company. So I brought them into the company, and there is a third. There will be a third power already. So we always, whenever anything happen or arise, I'll say, he might not agree. Okay, he might be support. We have to inquire the third party those that invested into us, so whether they agree on that or not. So I then will look for that one, then we come to a consensus. Okay, I think this is why the first strategy I do bringing an investor, okay, to reduce, working with sibling with all the conflict when conflict come in. Okay, another strategy I'm applying then, because I have 3 brothers. Okay, I'm the youngest, 4 brothers. So the 4 brothers, there are 2 tigers inside. So people always say, right, one mountain cannot have 2 tigers. Okay, and just coincidentally, my company have 2 tigers and 2 maybe goat or rabbit. Okay? Okay, so me and my another brother is a tiger, so we always have a lot of conflicts. Okay, the way he work and the way I work, I'm more Western exposure, and he's more China man, this word to put it. So for me, I like transparency, but he didn't really agree with me. Okay, you cannot let the people see your costs, you cannot let people, I mean, you cannot disclose everything to your staff. This maybe like, not to say this is not true, because they have been working on it and it's successful as well for some of the businesses, okay? But for me, I'm not. Okay, so that's why we have come to a lot of disagreement on this. Okay, so what I do is, the second part, with these two tiger, we handle two company, and you responsible for that company, I'm responsible for BMS Organics. So you have to hear of this company. And another two brothers, they also need to be, well, they are founder as well, they need to be respect. So we will have director meeting, they will give their opinion, then that's good, then we adopt. So they feel they're being respected as well. So I think this is how I resolve my own company. If let's say you cannot separate into two companies, I would say that maybe separate into two departments that's very clear line of crossover. I mean, not too much crossover, I would say, okay? Okay, see, this is how I will suggest how you handle with your sibling. This is how I go through. Actually, frankly speaking, after bringing the investor into company, after balance out all this, I feel my relationship with my sibling is much better, frankly speaking.
That's right.
Excellent.
So have clear boundaries between your roles and between being a family as well as a worker in the company as well, right? Now, this is just the first generation. I would envision that the second generation with your children and your brother's children, the issue could multiply with the amount of children.
That's
Have you thought about ways to...
That's why now I always, in the company, I always share the thing. We have to separate, I mean, we have a shareholder. It doesn't means that we must be the management. Okay, we have to separate these two roles. If you are capable and you can, like my daughter as well, I tell them, you don't think that you'll be inherit automatically. There's no way. You have to proven yourself. It might not have a chance to go in as well. Only the capable handle the company. I think that will be more sustainable for my thinking. Okay, that might not be my sibling thinking as well. Okay, so but anyway, I will still explain. I think times will tell. And I actually, I mean, maybe I'm more Western thinking. I look at those 100 years company or 200 years company. This is then they actually, unless like Pierre, they have a very strong, I mean, things have been, game rule has been right very clearly. And everyone have to abide to that. On that, I think the family will go very, very well. Okay. For me, maybe I'm less confident, I don't know, okay? Because I have two daughters, because I've seen that the children right nowadays they are not looking at the TV together, you know. Like us, last time we on the TV, everybody sit down and watch the same
We don't
drama.
have much options then. We got TV 1, 2, 3, that's why. Now you've got so many.
Yeah, like Hong Kong, we watch together, but now it's the daughter watch one iPad, that one not another iPad. Everyone have their own thinking. When it comes to second generation, I don't know how to, compromise. That's why what I've seen. Maybe our family, I think I have to have a wisdom like Pierre, grandfather. And then they have to unite together, study in the same school, and then have the same thinking. Then only will happen to be same direction toward the company. Maybe for family business like me, I better make it right in my, maybe I don't know lah, maybe I'm not as strong as a grandfather. I want to be that grandfather.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can. I guess you can start now. You're in a great position where you're exposed to both Western and local way of thinking, and you're in a position as well to set the culture for your family as well as your business. So whatever you do now would affect the legacy of your business in the years to come. And one day, maybe 50 years from now, your grandchildren will be sitting and talking about Terry, my grandfather, he said this, just like how Pierre is talking about his grandfather as well. Any last words, Kevin, before we wrap the show?
Yes, very interesting. I think today we have two very successful local business. I think a lot of audience are probably looking at learning something from them. I think what I hear is in order to really keep a family business running and be sustainable over time, to run it like a corporate, although it's family owned, running a corporate is the right way, because this is where you cultivate transparency. And I think the second thing I pick up also probably advice to a lot of family run businesses, time has changed. So in order to really take this business forward or the Malaysian brand forward and be able to be competitive globally, digitalization is very, very important, because that step has to be taken in order to drive efficiency and be able to be competitive against all the global competitions. So I think that's probably my advice to all the business out there.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for sharing with us your wisdom, and of course to Pierre and Terry as well for taking the time and sharing with us your experiences, which I'm sure is so invaluable for our audiences who are tuning in right now. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you stay tuned to our next episode of Spark, brought to you by Maxis Business. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.